Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. And the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth.
The Trump administration's escalating trade war with China is putting some American farmers on uncertain ground. In response to U.S. tariffs, China slapped a 25% tariff on U.S. soybeans last week. More retaliation could be ahead. American soybean farmers are among the businesses lately caught in the middle of trade disputes. The fight has also affected motorcycle maker Harley-Davidson.
Well, China has been the leading importer of U.S. agricultural goods for the last several years. So this trade dispute with Beijing has the owner of this 800-acre spread in Illinois worried about how it may change the landscape of his business.
It artificially raises our prices.
Farmer Paul Taylor isn't thrilled by the prospect of tariffs, but he's willing to give President Trump's trade approach a chance. Now, though, you think the president knows what he's doing?
I hope so. I mean, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think it's okay to shake things up.
Last Friday, the Trump administration imposed a 25% tariff on Chinese goods worth $34 billion. And China immediately responded with its own tariffs on U.S. goods, including soybeans. Couldn't it also be an incentive to the Chinese to buy more soybeans from, say, Brazil?
Well, of course it is.
Though optimistic, the third-generation farmer has concerns.
In this case, it's done to modify behavior of our trading partners. Will that work? I don't know. They don't have a very good record for that. I just hope to God it doesn't lead to any kind of international recession.
The economic collapse has reported that an absolutely epic escalation of the trade war has us on the precipice of a cataclysmic global economic crisis. If Americans really understood how much their standard of living was about to change, the streets of our major cities would be packed with protesters by tomorrow morning. For the past several decades, China and other low-cost exporters have been flooding our shores with hundreds of billions of dollars worth of cheap goods. Now, this is the only way where you can go to that Walmart and buy a shirt for $3. But since we buy far more stuff from the rest of the world than they buy from us, we ultimately have to go back to those other nations and beg them to lend our money back to us so that we can pay our own bills. This sick, twisted, codependent relationship has enabled Americans to live a debt-fueled standard of living that is far beyond what we deserve. And now, our rapidly escalating trade war with China is going to bring the party to a crashing halt.
From the grocery aisle to the hardware store to your next oil change, America's trade war carries the risk of inflicting real economic damage and costing Americans real money.
The administration has put anywhere from a 10% to a 25% tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States. It's likely that at least some of that cost increase will be passed along to consumers.
The list of items included in another $200 billion of tariffs on Chinese exports could now hit every room in your home. On the outside, doors, windows, and air conditioning units that are made in China. Here in the kitchen, made-in-China utensils and appliances like stoves and refrigerators are being targeted, and food too, including some vegetables and seafood. Upstairs in the bathroom, everyday items like shampoo, nail clippers, makeup, and towels. Throughout the house, TVs, lamps, fire, and burglar alarms that come from China could also cost more. The U.S. wants China to stop stealing or demanding trade secrets from American companies in China. But China is already retaliating with its own tariffs, among those targeted American farmers who sell to China. Chris Gasser exports 20% of his soybeans. Prices are falling.
If things got a lot worse, I mean, I could maybe have to stop farming, but I don't think that it'll get that bad, and I really hope that it doesn't.
On Tuesday, the Trump administration released a list of $200 billion worth of Chinese exports that will be hit with a 10% tariffs. Those tariffs are in addition to the 25% tariffs that had previously been announced on $50 billion worth of Chinese exports. Folks, these new tariffs are scheduled to go into effect on August 30th, and the Chinese have already pledged to retaliate.
中国从来不会主动打贸易战，如果是对方采用加征关税的办法，那么中方所采取的相应的 反制措施，既是维护中方自身的发展利益。
In essence, our trade war with China has now gone nuclear, and this is going to have extremely serious implications for the U.S. economy. Now, folks, without a doubt, something needed to be done about China's unfair trade practices. The Chinese manipulate currency rates, they impose very high tariffs on U.S. goods, and they have been stealing our intellectual property for decades. But it is very unlikely that anyone's going to win this trade war. And in the short term, all it's going to do is a whole lot of economic and financial pain.
The imposition of these tariffs on June 1st on our raw materials has actually put our operations into a crisis mode.
Chris Pratt is the operations general manager at Mid-Continent Steel & Wire. The company is the largest U.S. nail manufacturer and employs hundreds of people in Poplar Bluff. But 60 employees were laid off this month, leaving facilities like this looking like a ghost town.
We're currently standing in the paper tape facility of our operations that we had to completely idle Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock due to lack of sales.
Pratt says their customers have canceled 50% of their orders because the price of their products have jumped up since the steel tariff started.
Low-priced import nails that we're having to compete with that is not a part of the Section 232 tariff has forced our customers to start seeking product in those areas, going away from the U.S. manufactured product that supports our local industry and jobs.
An employee I spoke to who lost his job Monday tells me the layoffs could be a sign for bigger problems at the nail factory.
According to Politico, the new tariff list that was just released sets a very broad range of products. They reported that the new tariff list broadens the types of goods caught up in trade war by targeting items like seafood, minerals, chemicals, and personal care items such as shampoos and soaps. It also includes a number of consumer products such as handbags, luggage, gloves, and paper. Do you buy any of those things? So what do you think that these Chinese are going to do in response? Yes, they're going to look at measures that will cause disruptions to America's economy. The Chinese are very proud people, my friends, and they are not stupid. They know where our pain points are, and they will not be afraid to go for the jugular.
为什么强大的国家都会走向灭亡呢？古希腊、罗马帝国、不列颠帝国、美国，因为他们都犯同样的错误，与原来使得他们成功的原则背道而驰。美国政府企图以庞大的开支和税收来摆脱严重的经济衰退，巨额的所谓刺激开支。 庞大的医疗改革，政府接管私有企业，债务累累。当然，我们是他们的大债主。现在他们都得给我们干活。
I'm Ali Velshi in for Lawrence O'Donnell. Trade wars are easy to win. That's what President Trump tweeted to his supporters earlier this year before he actually started a trade war with Canada, Mexico, and the European Union. That trade war continues, and now Donald Trump has started another one. The world's two biggest economies are now engaged in a trade war, with the first shot fired by the president just after midnight Friday morning. Donald Trump imposed tariffs on $34 billion worth of Chinese goods coming into the United States, including aircraft parts, heavy machinery, medical equipment, and diesel-powered trucks and buses. China's foreign ministry immediately accused the president of violating world trade rules and launching the largest trade war in economic history, and imposed its own tariffs on $34 billion worth of American goods, including soybeans, beef, pork, poultry, seafood, automobiles, and whiskey. And that might be just the first volley in a long fight. The president told reporters Thursday that he had already prepared tariffs on an additional $16 billion worth of Chinese goods, and says he's willing to put tariffs on as much as $500 billion worth of Chinese goods, which would be roughly equivalent to every single Chinese import into America. The first people to lose if the Trump trade war goes wrong are going to be the people who elected Donald Trump. Let me show you a map. This shows where China's retaliatory tariffs will hurt the most. The counties in dark colors will feel the greatest pain in their local industries because of the tariffs. As you can see, most of those counties are dark red, meaning they voted for Donald Trump. According to the Wall Street Journal, almost 20% of the counties that voted for Donald Trump will see more than 25% of their economies affected by the tariffs, while only 3% of the counties that voted Clinton will feel the same impact. Some of those Trump supporters say they are willing to bet the farm, literally, on President Trump's trade war, but farmers work on razor-thin margins, and they fear that they'll be ruined if the fight drags on for too long. One farmer in Michigan telling NBC News today, quote, "The banks are not going to keep writing checks to save your farm. For some family farms, one season could be the death of them." An owner of the largest family-owned pork producer in the United States telling CNBC the farm industry has been, quote, "asked to be good patriots. We have been, but I don't want to be the patriot who dies at the end of the war." And here was the reaction in Maine's lobster industry, which today woke up to new tariffs on its annual exports of more than $100 million worth of lobster to China. Some workers in Maine, whose livelihoods depend on that industry, spoke to NBC's Vaughn Hilliard.
We have enough challenges already with the prices of fuel. The prices of bait have gone up. And we just didn't need another challenge like this right now.
So now the concern with these tariffs being placed right now by China is
that we will lose a crucial part of the markets that we've developed over the years here in Maine. Losing sales and revenue for our company, possibly making us eliminate jobs.
I'm hopeful that what he's doing is going to end up in the long run being great for everyone. But right now,
how confident are you that that's going to be the case?
Not very right now.
China could decide to cut off some or even all of our agricultural imports from the United States, and that would be absolutely devastating to many farming states. Now, in addition, China could decide to go nuclear by cutting off U.S. investment in China, by restricting our access to rare earth elements, or by dumping our own debt. Now, the only reason why we've been able to get to $21 trillion in debt is because nations such as China have been buying our debt at ultra-low interest rates that are way below the real rate of inflation. And if China quit buying our debt and started dumping their current holdings, interest rates would start skyrocketing and we would be in a world of hurt almost immediately. Now, we don't have that kind of leverage as some people seem to think that we have here in the US. And there are many prominent experts that are warning that we are heading for catastrophic consequences. For example, consider what David Stockman recently told CNBC. The United States is heading to a massive trade war because President Donald Trump doesn't know what he's doing, said former Reagan budget director David Stockman. He went on to say, "We have an absurd policy, dangerous, it's stupid. The worst that I've seen since my whole career started in 1970 under then President Richard Nixon, and he did some crazy things." Unfortunately, most ordinary Americans simply do not grasp the importance of what is happening, because we've never seen anything like this in modern American history. But the two largest economies on the entire planet are now in a state of economic conflict, and there is no way that that's going to end well.